Welcome to the third class in the study of chapter 3. This chapter is called the Vibhūti Pādaḥ, the chapter on the glories from meditation. Now, where we left off last time is on the groundwork for explaining siddhis. So this is a very, what can I say, abstract portion. In fact, probably one of the most abstract portions of the Yoga Sutras. We will see another very abstract portion in the fourth chapter. And why is it this way? Because, as I said, the Yoga Sutras is a scientific document. And because it is a scientific document, things are explained very scientifically. What Patañjali is essentially trying to say in these sutras is that all the stuff that you are seeing about siddhis, it is not random. There is a certain connection. That's how the yogi is able to predict the past and the future. And the logic, he explains, it can, sometimes some things are like common sense, but remember when we studied mathematics, even some of the common sense stuff is said because people can say, why is this true? Why can't it be random? All these questions they can ask. That's how Patanjali, the way he has framed it, is in a very systematic way. So if you're not able to follow the logic, don't worry. All that Patanjali is saying is just this. The siddhis are superpowers from meditation. And Patanjali is saying, he's using this logic. The mind and these objects of nature, they are similar because they're both born of Prakriti. Prakriti is the material aspect. There's Prakriti and Purusha, consciousness and the material aspect. The mind is matter in the subtlest form. So all the rules which apply to material objects also apply to the mind. There's exactly the same. Yogi, by mastering the mind, is able to apply these principles to the material objects. That is the logic. If you understand this, that's well and good. So Patanjali here is trying to say that Prakriti in its fundamental state is gunas. It's like a cloth we saw. You see the cloth, it has three guna. The word literally means strand. It's a strand. So the three gunas are three strands. Here you see white, red, and dark blue. They form the cloth, Prakriti. All the Prakriti is nothing but gunas. And we saw the transformation of Prakriti, the magnet example. I'm not going to repeat it because we've seen it many times. Please look through second chapter if you want to revise it. So Patanjali says, Etena bhutendriyeshu dharma lakshanavastha parinamapyakyata. By this analogy, we saw it in the last class. Etena is the crucial word. Etena means by this analogy, bhuta indriyashu, the transformations of the bhuta refers to the elements and indriya refers to the senses. So the transformations in the elements and the sense organs are explained. How? By this analogy of the transformations of the mind, the transformations of characteristic, that is dharma, the temporal character, he calls it a name lakshana, and the state, he calls it avastha, in the elements and sense organs are explained. These are all very technical terms, so we will look at what these three are explained at last class. I'll do it again. So in essence, very simplistically speaking, you can look at it as three axes. There is time and space are the characteristics of Prakriti. And there is also, Patanjali defines a third characteristics, which it is the same object. It occupies the same form, and at the same time, you can have two objects. One looks nice and shiny, bright, the other looks dull. Same thing can happen with the mind. So he calls that avastha. Okay, so the three axes, one is called dharma, one is the lakshana, and the other is the avastha. Lakshana, here is a technical term. Lakshana, it sometimes can refers to a laksh, the word laksh, for example. The laksh, it means an indicator. So here it's used as a time change indicator. Sometimes the features of a person are very catchy. They say very lakshanam. So it's indicator. Here it's specifically used as a time state indicator. So dharma is a specific arrangement. So we can say volume, how it looks, the shape, form. It can be a rectangular bar. It can be made into a bracelet. So these are the dharmas. Then for the dharma, the analogy to the mind is constantly changing, just like Prakriti, because gunas, they're constantly changing. The mind can be angry, peaceful. So these are the two dharmas of the mind, the characteristic of the mind. Lakshana, it is the temporal aspect, past, present, future. The past state of the mind is memory. The future state of the mind, it is already in the present. It is called sankalpa, the budding thought or the desire, or the samskara, the impression. So it's sankalpa and samskara, the budding thought or desire, or the impression. This is what gives rise to the future state of the mind. Okay, so what Patanjali here says is that the bracelet is already in the gold. It's in the gold block as latent. What he's trying, you may wonder, why is he saying all this? It's so obvious. Yes, it is very obvious. But if you look at this axis, only certain things are possible in this axis. So the state, it can move only on these points. The gold cannot become a tree. It's only a seed which can become a tree. So the yogi uses this to find the past and the future trajectories from the current trajectory. Okay, so that's how the yogi is able to see the past and the future. So here the present state is in the right image, the present state is the bracelet, and the past state is the block. Okay, it's very similar to the state of the mind. The mind at one point, it's past is the memory, future is the thoughts, the budding thoughts. Patanjali also says the future bracelet in the first picture is just as real as the present bracelet in the second picture. It is here, it's the future bracelet. Here, it's the present bracelet. But it's that both are as real. He says, from the yogi's point of view, we think only present is right, but yogi sees everything. It's the same for the yogi. Okay, and what is the constant in all this? The gold is the constant. You can melt it, or the gold is the only thing that is constant. Gold is the Atma, they say, reality in all the states. This is not to be confused with the consciousness. Atma just means the self. Gold is the underlying reality of the self. That is the gold. Okay. Now, avastha, this is the other one. The mind analogy is sometimes the mind is sharp, sometimes it's very dull. It's the same mind, same time. The mind, it's the same, but it's sharp and dull. Like that, the bracelet can be shiny, it can be dull. So there's a difference. Same volume, there's no, and same, one bracelet, same time, one bracelet is shiny, one bracelet is dull. So Patanjali, therefore, comes with three axes, that is dharma axis, lakshana axis, avastha. The objects can only be on these points. So that's how a yogi knows the trajectory. Okay. Reading the past and the future, according to Sankhya Yoga, when a characteristic disappears, it is not destroyed. It subsides into a latent state. The mechanism of seeing the past and the future is using saṃyama. And the future is also present as a highly structured potential energy called anagata. The past is shanta. We'll see that in the next sutra. Shanta is past. Anagata, agatam means coming. Anagatam, that which has not come yet. So it is the potential energy. Okay. So similarly, seed becoming a tree. The past, it's in the flower. Okay. So I will give a summary. Explanation of siddhis is drawn from the fundamental premise of Sankhya. Mind and matter are made of the same stuff, the gunas. Because they share the same substrate, the laws governing mental transformation, Sutras 3.9 to 3.12, are identical to the laws governing physical transformations, Sutras 3.13 to 3.15. We've covered 3.13 in the last class and also saw that now. 3.13 makes us explicit with the word etena. By the same logic, whatever happens in the mind also happens to material nature. Because the mind, the chitta, is not separate from Prakriti. Mind is Prakriti in its most refined form. Because of this, when the yogi masters the mind's transformation, they can apply these principles to the transformation of external objects. Meditation becomes the key to unlocking the physics of reality. So this is what Patanjali is trying to say. So if there is one thing you can take away from this entire study of the Yoga Sutras, is the motivation for a regular, maybe every day or every other day, meditation practice. That is the hopefully all these motivate you about the importance of meditation, not to get superpowers, but at first to get a peace and clarity of the mind. Okay, so again, the three types of transformations: dharma parinamaha, change in the characteristics, bar, bracelet; lakshana parinama, change in the temporal state, past, present, and future, like in the case of the mind, angry mind, peaceful mind for the dharma characteristic. For the time, past is memory, future is sankalpa; avastha, the condition, lustre condition, dull mind, sharp mind for the mind. Okay, so that's how we explain. So far, is this clear to everybody? So if you don't understand all this, the logic, this is very structured. Now Patanjali is going to say things are not random. That's how the yogi knows. If it's random, the yogi cannot understand things, predict. And he's going to say, what is that constant that flows through all this? So that's another logical part. But now we will see a story. Okay, so this story is from Srimad Bhagavatam, very famous portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there are many Gitas. The Gita, that is, Gita means song. The Gita that is very common is the Bhagavad Gītā. Okay, now in the Bhagavatam, there is a portion called Uddhava Gītā. So Uddhava is a friend, a very dear friend of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. It is this Uddhava Gītā is described as the final testament of Krishna before he departs the world. His avatara is over. While the Bhagavad Gītā was spoken on the battlefield to a warrior in crisis, the Uddhava Gītā was spoken in a quiet moment to a dear friend as an era was coming to the end. So the Dwapara Yuga was coming to an end, and Kali Yuga, these times, the Kali Yuga is the times we live in, it was starting. Who was Uddhava? Uddhava was a central figure in the Purana. So he was a wise counselor, a cousin of Krishna, a distant cousin and a dear friend. He was renowned for his exceptional intelligence, and he was a student of Brihaspati, the preceptor of the gods. Uddhava Gītā is a philosophical treatise found in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And as the Yadava dynasty approached its destruction and Krishna prepared to withdraw from the earthly form, Uddhava became overwhelmed with grief. He begged Krishna to take him along instead. Krishna said, unfortunately, your prarabdha karma is not over. You have to stay for some more time, but get out of this place. That's what he says. Krishna delivered these final teachings to prepare Uddhava for a life of solitary spiritual practice and help him to see the divine in all beings. The story is the gold and the ornaments. So Krishna explains that when a person who desires to know the truth must look at the world the way a goldsmith looks at jewelry. This is what he says, saying. A person who desires to know the truth must look at the world the way goldsmith looks at jewelry. Krishna describes these three distinct stages of an object's existence. Okay, and what are the three distinct stages? Before creation, before the jeweler begins his work, there's only a lump of gold. The bracelet, rings, earrings do not exist to our eyes, yet they are present in the gold as potentiality. It seems obvious to us, but he's using an analogy to explain a bigger concept. This corresponds to the analogy of future state in Lakshana Parinama. During existence, when the jeweler fashions the gold into a bracelet, we give it a name, bracelet, and a function, but it is just a myth in the Vedanta. For those who attended the Vedanta classes, do you know what word is used for this in the Vedanta classes? Anybody wants to say?
Are you referring to mithya?
Yes,
or?
wonderful.
Okay.
Yes, the word is mithya. Mithya means names, nama rupa, names and form. It looks all different, but in essence, it is just that object. Similarly, in Vedanta, all these names and forms are nothing but consciousness. It's a play. It's just like illusions coming. So here, all this jewelry, rings, gold, bracelet, chains, nothing but gold. We get moved away. It's called Maya. That's why it's a deluding principle. The goldsmith only sees gold, the value, because that's the only thing the person sees. We see beauty, we get carried away. Do you understand? So it's called mithya. So during existence, the jeweler fashions the gold into bracelet. We give it a name, a function. We often forget the gold and see the bracelet. This is the present state. And after destruction, the bracelet is melted down because it's old or broken, and the bracelet disappears, but the gold remains. The bracelet has now entered the Atita, past state. The substratum, the persistence of the substratum, Krishna says, the primary point is that throughout these 3 time changes, the gold itself never changed its essential nature. Like that, he's trying to say the Atma in you may take this lifetime, man, woman, next lifetime, something, maybe a different divine being, something like that. But the same, what is going through all these is the Atma, the consciousness which never changes. He says that consciousness you are. It was gold when it was a lump, it was gold when it was a bracelet, and it remained gold when it was melted. The braceletness was merely a temporary condition, a temporary transformation that disappeared, appeared, disappeared, appeared, disappeared. And Krishna uses this to explain the Atma, the self. This is like the gold of the universe. The various bodies we take, human, animal, celestial, and the various stages of life, childhood. So in the Bhagavad Gītā, Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Praptihi Dhira Tatra Mukhyati. So Bhagavan says, Dehi nosmin yatha dehe. How the Atma takes on all these things in this body. And in this body, it goes through Kaumaram, that is childhood, Yauvanam, youth, Jara, old age. But it is constant. It just takes all these outside forms. Like that, goldsmith isn't fooled by the different shapes and sees only the value of the gold. Wise person, Jnani, isn't fooled by the changing temporal characteristics, Lakshana Parinama of the world, and only sees the underlying Atma. This is the story of Krishna's advice. And in this portion also comes a very famous portion called the Vibhūti Gītā. This we'll see in a separate class. Of let me know if you want to do it. Maybe a Sunday morning we do it. Vibhūti Gītā is about gurus. So this Krishna tells another story in this, and he talks about one of their ancestors. So they're both cousins, right? Distant cousins and dear friends. So Krishna talks about one of the ancestors of their dynasty called Puru. Krishna's Bhagavan, but he's saying as a man, like ancestor. And this Puru once encountered, when he was coming from a hunt, he encountered a person who's like carefree. It's a sannyasi. He's carefree, no worries, nothing. Such happiness and radiance, no worries at all. And Puru asks him, how are you this happy? Who is your guru? That's the first thing Puru asks him. So the Avaduta says, I have Chaturvimshatihi Guruhu. 4 plus 20, 24 gurus. And he starts naming one serpent, python, rock, all these things, one prostitute. So he names so many. And finally, the 24th guru, he says, it's my body. I learned so much from my body. My body is constantly decaying, but it makes me trick that I have to give it a lot of importance to look nice and all that. So he's trying to play a trick. I learned from it what not to be deceived by. So this is a portion which we will see separately. It's one of the most classical portions in the Bhagavata Purana, profoundly symbolic. Every one of the guru teaches this Avaduta something. Avaduta means one who has just cast away all the bonds of the samsara, worldly existence. Okay. Now, the question comes. So, as I said, this is logic. It may seem obvious to you, but it's logic. So, the sutras are inserted specifically for that person. What connects? We saw the tree example, right? What connects the seed to the tree? If these two are random things, I mean, how can the yogi follow a certain thing to arrive at the future or the past? If the object is just a flow of changes, what connects the seed to the tree? Okay, and because seed is like this, tree is different. When you look, the seed and the tree are obviously different, though it came from this. What is the connection? How do you know this shape became that tree? And for that, Patanjali says the constancy of the dharmī, like in the gold example, gold is the constant in the bracelet, chain, ring, everything. He says, Shantoditavyapadesya dharmanupati dharmī Shantaha uditaha avyapadesya. So Shantaha we saw means past, means subsided, quieted. Shantaha literally means to become peaceful or become quieted. What became quieted? The past became quieted. It's not loudly chirping now. Look at the word. It is the word that's used for past is Shantaha, that which has been quietened, which has become peaceful. It is not blurring away things. Look how beautiful the word choice is for the past. It's a technical word. And uditaha means rising. What is coming in the present moment? Shantaha, uditaha, avyapadesya means that which cannot be explainable. What is that? Future. Shanta avyapadesya, Shanta udita avyapadesya, dharma anupati dharmī. Dharmī is that which, dharma anupati means that following the path of the characteristics is the dharmī, is that which follows along with and connects the characteristics that are subsided, arisen, present, and are unmanifest. So dharmī is the underlying substratum. It is that which follows along with, it just follows. It's just the gold follows through it, everything, the bracelet, all these objects, but it is gold. And so Patanjali says there is a link, and the yogi can see that. The common confusion here, people say dharmī is the Mula Prakriti. But Swami Hariharananda very clearly says dharmī is not a Mula Prakriti. Dharmī, because for all objects you can trace back to the Mula Prakriti. Mula Prakriti is an unmanifested form of material, Prakriti. And from that, due to gunas, all shapes come about. We will see soon why. There's also a logical explanation. If you don't understand this, don't worry about it. Dharmī is the gold substratum, lump of gold. Dharma is the ornament, right? Different ornaments, ring, bracelet, bangle, all that stuff. Now, another example, in a movie theater. Movies, those days they used to have films. These days it's all DLP and other digital means. Those days it was analog. In this movie, they show a person through childhood, right? Through childhood, then middle age, and then old age. What is the only constant that is in this whole transformation? Can anybody say? Anybody wants to say? What's the only constant?
Is the dharmī the thing that's constant?
Yes. And what is the dharmī here?
Just the material,
Yes,
I
it's
guess
a
it says
film strip.
substratum.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The
It
film
is
strip.
only yes, the dharmī is the film strip.
Mm.
In a movie that shows a person through all this, the only constant is the film strip. We get carried away by the images and everything. Reality, and it's not a chaotic flow of fleeting changes. There's a permanent, stable substance underlying every object that connects us past, present, and future states into a single continuous existence. So, dharma and dharmī are relative. This is what Swami Hariharananda wants to clarify. What is dharmī, substratum at one level, can be a dharma at another level. So this again, it's a scientific document. So he has to explain all this. So Swami Hariharananda was very well versed in Sankhya, and in fact, of all the commentaries there, Swami Hariharananda and one Vachaspathi Mishra, of course, and of course Vyasa, Swami Hariharananda writes a sub-commentary, if you remember, on Vyasa's commentary. And we don't know who Vyasa is. Some people say maybe it's Patañjali himself who's done the sutras and written a commentary as another person. We don't know. But both Vachaspathi Mishra and Hariharananda, Swami Hariharananda Aranya, they are trying to write sub-commentaries on Vyasa's commentary. So, first, gross object. You have a pot. The dharma is the pot shape, right? The dharmī is the clay. Now, second level. The dharma, look at the clay. It has characteristics, smell, the smell of earth. It has solidity. If you touch it, it's solid. That is the dharma, the solidity, the smell. What is the dharmī of the clay? The subtle earth element, tanmatra, the pure potential of smell energy from which the gross clay evolved. That is the tanmatra. That is the subtle element. That's the dharmī. Then the subtle at the next level, the subtle element, tanmatra level, dharma is the subtle potential. Remember, tanmatra is tatmatra, which means the potential of the smell, potential of the solidity. And what is the dharmī? We've seen in the evolution of Sankhya, it is the ahankara, ego principle of the material universe. And then one step higher, the ahankara or the ego, that becomes the dharma, the I sense individualization. Now it's getting a certain smell, all that is being formed, identity is being formed from Prakriti due to the gunas. This is the starting point, I sense. Don't think of it as human being I sense. This is more general. So human being, our I sense is man, woman, teacher, student, father, mother, whatever it is. That is the individualization. This starts at the root individualization level from the tanmatra. And what is the dharmī? It's the cosmic intelligence, Mahat Buddhi. This is, who's the cosmic intelligence? I think Amy will answer this question.
Brahma.
Yes, so it's symbolized by Brahma. Okay, so that is, Brahma is the creator. So it's a cosmic intelligence. A guy with the 4 heads, white beard, that is symbolic of the cosmic intelligence. Then at the high level, the dharma is the disturbance of the gunas, and mula prakriti is the pradhana, root nature. So it shows the relativity of dharma and the dharmī. Okay, it doesn't matter if you don't understand all this. We've seen that in detail. This just somebody has a question. Yes, Sumitra, you have a question?
Yes, just to understand dharmī and dharma better. So dharmī, if fish is the dharmī, dharma is for it to be able to swim.
It is a characteristic. Yeah, it can be.
Like a feather is dharma is the feather. Dharmi will be its ability to, dharma will be its ability to fly, right? I mean, what it needs to do with that thing that has been provided. Is my understanding?
Yeah. So, okay.
The purpose, right?
Okay.
Dharma becomes
So,
the
okay,
purpose.
let me tell you one thing to go by. This is what is all this, what is it talking about? In essence, when we started this, what is it talking about? Can you name one of any of you can answer? Sumitra or Amy or anybody, Leena, Mimi, Sanjana, Jaffrey, Anu. What is being talked about in all these sutras? What is that one word?
Siddhis, right?
Siddhis, right? But what's being this talked about? It is parinama or transformation or change.
Transformation, yes.
So think about it, address it from, you're giving the analogy, right? That's great. You're thinking now for other analogies. So you're saying ability to swim and fish. Okay. Now, the fish also has to change. So one way of looking at it, like a frog, tadpole, all that thing, it is, in all these cases, you have to look for the constancy in all these things. It is this amphibian or whatever, that is the constant. So you have to look for something that is constant in varying shapes. Do you understand the logic?
Yes, the thread.
The thread. So fish swim is not,
there's no constant element there. Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm very happy you're formulating all these problems, but look for that constancy. Okay. Yes. Sanjana? Yes.
My question was in the previous slide where you were showing the human, sorry, I think it's the previous one, the human going through like the childhood, different avasthas here. What is the film strip here? Is this the chitta?
Yeah. The film strip in this case, so this is just an example. We are engrossed in a movie. The only thing that is there is the film. It's just a projection, right? But we kind of get engrossed into all these changes in the movie. In a real life, if you see, it is the stula shariram which is going through all the change.
Okay.
Yeah. Even of course, the sukshma shariram is also changing, but the stula shariram is changing there. Stula shariram refers to the gross body that's undergoing the change.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And you can say that within that, the outward, everything is changing. At this level, the sukshma shariram, even though it's changing, but it's relatively constant. And then it carries over into another body. Okay. All right. So let's then move on. Now, so as I told you, this is a portion on logic. We'll see a portion on logic in the 4th chapter also. It may seem silly and obvious, but Patanjali is doing all this to show there's no randomness. Everything is made of the same gunas and follow the same laws of transformation, dharma, lakshana, avastha. Why isn't everything identical? So in this axis that I drew, I mean, an object can only move along these coordinates. It can't just move out of that. Okay, it can be only in these points. What Patanjali is trying to say is something cannot become totally something else. Okay, so Patanjali says the difference is in the transformation sequence. So even gold, the bracelet and the ring, how it arrived is through a different sequence. So kramanyatvam parinamanyatve hetuhu. The difference that one sees is because of the difference in the sequence of underlying moments. Kramaha means sequence. Vinyasa krama means sequence. Anyatvam is the difference. Parinama anyatve, parinama is transformation. Anyatve, regarding this difference, Anyatvam is difference. Anyatve means regarding the difference, the cause, hetuhu, is the kramaha, which means kramaha anyatvam. The difference in the krama, anyatvam, difference in the sequence, is parinama anyatve, is the cause for the different transformations. Is it understood? So it's just a logical statement. Now, Patanjali, okay, before we go on to the vibhutis, the glories from meditation, I want to briefly recap some powers that Patanjali talked about. I want to talk about siddhis and vibhutis and powers from various limbs of yoga. Some ordinary powers, but still powers nevertheless. I wanted to recap. We've studied that in the second chapter. But first, what are siddhis and vibhutis? Okay. Siddhi means perfection. It is a perfected state of a faculty or body function. It results from the removal of impurity through practice. Whether you meditate for 10,000 hours, you are like you practice the violin for 10,000 hours, you'll master something. This mastery is not playing the violin. It can be something, your concentration or something, some other power comes. With meditation, the power is super. You get superpowers. But anything you do for a long, you perfect anything, you get a certain faculty which is perfect. Okay. Now, with meditation, it results in a mystic power as a byproduct. This is called Vibhūti. Vibhūti means glorious mystic powers. The 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gītā is called Vibhūti Yoga. Glorious, all the glories in the universe are because of Bhagavan's manifestation. Okay. The Siddhas means the perfected ones. Sage Agastya is considered a Siddha. Siddhanam Kapilo Muni. Kapila is also considered a Siddha. Siddha medicines, ancient system of medicine practiced by the Siddhas like Agastya. And the Siddhas, the accomplished ones, one of the greatest Siddhas, Tirumula, a great Siddha who wrote one of the greatest yogic texts called Tirumantiram. It's written in Tamil. Okay. Now, powers from various limbs of yoga. Great powers can come by perfecting any of the limbs of yoga, like tapas, vadhyaya, ishvara parinidhana. So, powers from the yamas. So, ahimsa pratishtayam tatsannitav vairatyagaha. When you practice non-harming, what is the power that comes in the presence of one who's established in non-harming? Vairatyagaha, other beings abandon their violent tendencies. That's beings nearby abandon their violent tendencies. Then satya pratishtayam kriya palashrayatvam. Whatever their words bear fruit, apparently, when one is established in truthfulness. Asteya pratishtayam sarvaratnopasthanam. When a person is established in not stealing or not taking more than one's needs, sarvaratna upasthanam, all the riches come to one who's established in asteya. Brahmacharya pratishtayam dhīryalabha. When there is restraint or restraint towards sexual activities especially, one gains vigor. Then aparigrahastaitye janma katanta sambodaha. Non-coveting, when one is established in non-coveting, knowledge of how one's life came to be by complete dispassion. We saw that, right? Nirbija Samadhi. Sumitra was asking some questions. So that's from dispassion comes great powers. Knowledge of how one's life came to be comes apparently. Then similarly, niyamas also, there are all these powers that come. Shauchat swangajugupsa parairasam sargaha satvasutti daurmanasya ekagrendriya jaya atmatva nicha. So sattva shuddhi daurmanasya ekatmatvam. So it is purification of sattva shuddhi, means purification of the mind. The cheerfulness, removal of disappointments. ekatmatvam, one-pointedness, indriya jayaha, in indriya jayatvanicha, complete control over the senses. All this comes from cleanliness. Santoshas, anuttama sukhalabhaha, supreme joy. Tapas, kayendriya siddhi ashuddhi kshaya tapasaha. From austerity comes great siddhis of the body and the senses. And swadhyaya, swadhyayat ishtadevata samprayogaha, establishment of communion with one's deity of choice. And most important, he says, samadhi siddhir ishvara pranidhanat. By surrender to Ishvara, perfection of samadhi and resulting siddhis come. Okay. And asana removes dualities and conflicts. Pranayama, Tatakshigate prakasha varanam, destroys the veil covering the light and makes the mind fit for meditation. And from pratyahara, complete mastery over the senses comes. Okay. Certain great powers are obtained by perfecting any of the limbs of yoga. Siddhis, however, are extraordinary powers, more than just great powers. And that's what we are going to see next. And later in the 4th chapter, Patanjali says 5 ways to attain siddhis. Janmaushadhi mantra tapas samadhija siddhayaha. I usually use Jai Shri's chants as the basis for my own. So let's see if you can hear it. You can give me a thumbs up.
Janmaushadhi mantra tapah samadhija siddhayaha.
Okay, yeah, so you can use hers as the gold standard. So siddhis come from janma, birth, aushadhi, medicinal herbs, mantra, repeated chanting of a syllable or verse, tapaha, austerity, or samadhi. We'll see that in detail in the 4th chapter, but I'm just saying this is how siddhis come. Siddhis by birth is talked about extensively in the Bhagavad Gītā. Once you get into the yogic path, I'm saying all this to motivate you. Okay, this is in fact, Bhagavan gives a pep talk to Krishna in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gītā on the glories of a yogi. He puts a yogi as a stellar person, like propels him into outer space. So great. Tapas vibhyodiko yogi yanibhyopi matodikaha karmibhyaschadiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Therefore be a yogi. Why? Yogi is greater than people who do great tapas. Tapas vibhyodiko yogi yanibhyopi matodikaha. Yogi is greater than jnani. Karmibhyaschadiko yogi. Yogi is greater than one doing great acts. Therefore, be a yogi, Bhagavan says. And what happens when the yogi, you start meditating, it carries into your future life. Yogi, here Krishna means a person who meditates. Okay. Yogi tatra tambuddhi sanyogam labate paurvadehikam yatate chatato bhuyaha samsiddha kuru nandana. There in the next life, the yogi comes in touch with the knowledge obtained in previous bodies' lives and strives more than before for perfection. Okay. Purvabhyasena tenaiva kriyate kyavashopi saha jignāsurabhi yogasya shakta brahmati vartate. By virtue of the past practice, the yogi is again attracted to yoga. Even one who merely wants to know about yoga goes beyond the word Brahman, that is all-pervading one. It puts this desire for meditation so high. Bhagavan does that. And prayatnadyatamanustu yogi samshuddha kilbishaha aneka janma samsiddhaha tato yati param gatim. 6th chapter, 45th sloka. Yogi who strives with the right effort, with siddhis obtained through many births, attains the highest goal. This is siddhis from birth. Okay. Then medicinal herbs, chanting, and tapas, they come in. And Patanjali in the 4th chapter is going to say the best form of siddhi is born out of samadhi because they do not leave karmic residues. Tatra Dhyanajam anashayam. That is in fact, in my the website I have put this as the opening sutra. Action done from a meditative state of mind. Dhyana ajam, that which comes from a meditative. Ajam means to birth, to bring up. Anything, the action done from a meditative state of mind, anashayam, leaves no residues of attachment and is thus of very high quality. Okay, so we've seen a crash course of siddhis. Now we will go into the first siddhi. So the siddhis are arranged in a certain order, certain common topics. First is the knowledge of time, communication, and minds. Time means past, present, future. Communication, understanding the languages of other creatures and reading others' minds. So Patanjali is going to talk about this in the first 5 sutras on the siddhis. So from 3.16 it goes to 3.56. So you have about 41 shlokas, sutras on the siddhis. Okay, so so far everybody is doing okay. So, okay, we'll start with the siddhis. Parinamatraya saṃyama atitana jnanam. Siddhi of the past and the future. So this is exactly all this explanation from 3.10 to 3.15, or 3.9 to 3.15, Patanjali does to explain a few siddhis. So he's saying saṃyama on the threefold transformation of dharma, lakshana, and avastha. That is the innate nature characteristic, 3 axes. Remember, lakshana, temporal features, the volume, shape, form, and the temporal feature, and the condition, shine, luster, shine, avastha, 3 axes. Saṃyama on the threefold transformation results in knowledge of the past, atita, anagata jnanam, and the future. Okay, Patanjali places this first because it is the foundational skill for all other powers to manipulate reality, which many later siddhis describe. You must first possess total clarity about the causal chains that make up reality. You must first understand the timeline before you can hack it. It validates the Sankhya view that time is not a mystery. It is a mechanical process of unfolding causality that can be observed and known. Okay, that is Sankhya view. The normal person sees a tree. The yogi in saṃyama, they see all the changes, sap flow, carbon exchange, cellular change, all this. The average person looks at an object and sees the thing as static. This is what throughout it's trying to say. Even, why is that? Even a mind in the highest state of meditation, why does Patanjali first talk about the 3 transformations? Remember the Nirodha Parinamaha, Ekagrata Parinamaha, Samadhi Parinamaha, and Ekagrata Parinamaha, the 3. Because why Nirodha Parinamaha? Even in a mind which has nothing, no contents, Nirodha, there is transformation at the level of samskara. So nothing in the Prakriti is constant. It is gunas are constantly changing. The yogi through saṃyama does not see a static tree. The yogi perceives a tree as a high-speed flow of gunas undergoing all this parinamatrayam. They see the furious movement of the sap, cellular degradation, carbon exchange, shifting from new tree to old tree. Okay, this is the logic used. Okay, now siddhi of the speech of all creatures. Okay, shabdata pratyayanam itaretaratyasat sankarastat pravibhaga saṃyamat sarvabhuta krutajnanam. Shabda, artha, pratyaya. So this is also a very logical sutra. What is Patanjali saying? This is what he's saying. Speech of all creatures. When animals talk, or even when we talk, there are 3 things which are completely distinct. okay, let's see. Shabda, the raw physical acoustic vibration, different frequency. For those who know science, there's a different frequency. Shrill means high pitch, high frequency. The bass, bass voice means low frequency. It has no inherent meaning. It's just tones, right? Then there is that shabda. There's pratyaya. What happens in the mind? Mind pulls up a personal association with that sound. And then there's the artha, the objective intent, the specific intent of the speaker. We think communication is instant and direct, but it's actually a messy 3-step process that happens so fast that we don't notice the gaps. We suffer from sankara, confusion. So then he's sankarastat pravibhaga samyamat sarvabhuta prutagඥānam shabda artha pratyayanam itaretara adhyasat, because our mind is not slow. When the mind is meditative, you see things clearly and with clarity, slow. You see things in slow motion. Whereas most common people, they only see all these things jumbled up. Sabda, artha, pratyaya, itaretara, adhyasa, these 3, etc. Adhyasa means just combining together. Sankarastat pravibhaga samyamat. Mind, sankara means confusion. They're garbled together. They seem like it's garbled, confused, garbling happens. By performing saṃyama, pravibhaga means distinction. Pravibhaga samyamat, by performing saṃyama on their distinction, sarvabhuta rutagඥānam. Sarvabhuta means all beings, ruta, speech, is understood. Okay. So the third 3 things, shabda, which is the physical data, the frequency, all that pratyaya. What happens in the mind? Mind pulls up personal association with the sound. Artha, the specific intent of the speaker. We think communication is instant, but it's not. So a person who doesn't speak the language will only hear these sounds. Okay. Pratyaya, it's highly subjective. If you're a firefighter, your pratyaya is duty, danger, action. If your house burned down as a child, your pratyaya is terror, trauma, when you hear a certain sound. If you're camping, your pratyaya, your mind is thinking about this association. Mind pulls up personal associations with sound, warmth, etc. And artha, the reality the speaker is trying to point to. Are they warning you that this is an example. So let's say you're going camping and you hear something. So it depends on what you associate it with. The speaker, somebody is saying something out loud. If it depends on your association with that sound. Okay. Or is the person trying to warn you that the building is burning, or asking for a light, whatever, to light a cigarette. So the associations are completely different for different people. Yogi uses saṃyama to slow down their cognitive processing frame by frame. Normal speech, when a person hears a strange animal cry, their mind hits a blank. You see shabda, sound, but it's chaos. Like the only picture that comes is a crow in your mind. And similarly, dog barking, it's just chaos. Pratyaya, the dog comes in mind, but the yogi saṃyama, they are able to separate the 3, shabda, artha, pratyaya, direct knowledge of all being speech. The intent, the artha intent, is also known. Previously, the artha is jumbled up. Okay. when a person hears a strange animal cry, their mind hits a blank wall because they have no stored memory concept, but they are to match that specific shabda. They just hear noise. It's because they don't have any idea of this animal, right? The yogi, having mastered the ability to separate their mind from incoming data, bypasses the need for a shared dictionary. By listening to the animal cry, the yogi enters a state of deep absorption and tunes directly into the intent, artha behind the sound, ignoring the specific species-dependent vehicle of the sound, that is the shabda. They perceive raw emotion, fear, hunger, love, aggression directly without needing to translate it into words. It's a form of hyper-empathy where the barriers of species-specific language dissolve because of the yogi's ability. That is the logic that is used. Okay. Then we have 3 more minutes. Siddhi of knowledge of previous lives. Sanskara sakshat karanat purvajati jnanam. Samskara sakshat karanat, by direct perception of the samskaras, your tendencies, your mental impressions, knowledge of the previous lives arise. Samskara here is the impressions, the subliminal activators, mental deposit, memory traces, grooves in the mind. This is crucial technical term here. Sakshat karanat, by direct perception, visualization, bringing face to face past lives. Purva jatik, you understand your past lives. When the yogi performs saṃyama on these deep impressions, they understand the causal links. Tracing current tendencies, yogi might focus on a strong current trait. For example, an irrational fear of deep water. Finding the root samskara through saṃyama, they trace that fear down to the deepest subconscious impression, the groove of terror stored in the chitta, and the past life gets revealed. By directly perceiving the raw impression, the original event is revealed, perhaps a memory of drowning in a previous life in a village that may come to their mind. So I'm just giving an example. Okay. Now, this is important. Why is Patanjali saying all this? It's a scientific document. He has to clearly list it, but there's also a reason. Why is this useful for yoga? Because it creates vairagya. I'll tell you how. Why is this useful? Patanjali does not include the siddhi for the sake of cocktail party tricks or ego inflation. I was so-and-so. I was Cleopatra in my last life, many lifetimes away. This siddhi serves as a profound, sobering spiritual purpose, vairagya. When a yogi vividly perceives thousands of their previous lives, they see a horrifying panorama of repetition. They see themselves born as a king, a beggar, a dog, a god, an insect. They see endless mothers, fathers, wives, husbands, enemies. They see the same patterns of love, hate, greed, death playing out over and over for millions of lifetimes. This direct realization of the endless fairy wheel of samsara generates an intense, unshakable desire to get out of this ride, to achieve kaivalya, liberation. It proves that death is not the end, therefore temporary worldly pleasures are pointless to pursue. So this is the reason for inserting it as a secondary reason. Of course, Patanjali is giving some siddhis, but this is the reason for inserting this siddhi. Okay, we've reached time. This is a very famous story in the Jataka tales, in the Buddhist tales, but maybe we will take it up next class. I was hoping to do up to 3:21 today, so we are a little short. We'll maybe do 5 minutes more next class and pick it up. Okay. I'll stop.